few years. It's actually our third or fourth Unite session, and I'm really excited to see how that whole experience has evolved, but also delivered in a really authentic way. We'll also have loads of time for your questions in this, so ask your nittiest, grittiest questions. No pressure. And please welcome to the stage my Spice Girls dance partner from 2 years ago at Unite, Kim England from Pearson.
Thank you. So, my name is Kim England, and I am the Digital Employee Experience and Community VP at Pearson. And I am going to try and keep it really real today. The reason for that, I was listening to some of the sessions this morning, and I was having a bit of an imposter syndrome, because I was like, you know, J&J are doing amazing things. I'm like, why are we not doing these amazing things? And then you're listening to Jane, and she's talking about some of the Copilot stuff. Now, spoiler, we are doing some of that stuff with her. But when she starts to talk about agents, I'm like, why am I not building agents? And the truth is because I don't have a lot of time. I don't know how many of you in here are in a team of like 1 or 2. You maybe have half a borrowed person from another team, maybe. You've probably got one eye on your email right now. You're trying to listen in to these sessions, but you're thinking there's some stuff that's going on back in the office. And so that is the reality that a lot of us work in. So hopefully I'm going to talk to you over the next 30 minutes about some of the challenges that I've had, the lessons I've learned, and then also I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the big bets that Pearson is making in this space. Now, the good news is, when I heard the presentation this morning, some of my bets are well placed, so I feel pretty good about that. But before we start talking about where we are going, I would really like you to cast your mind back to 2010, early 2011. Okay, so it was a little while ago, 15 years ago, and I want to set the scene. So what was happening back then? Well, the Arab Spring began, and it was all playing out on social. It was giving ordinary people a voice, and it was a symbol of hope and modernity. Instagram launched. This is my first post on Instagram, like proper cringe. But this was what I posted. It was all about the filters. We also had the iPad launch. Now, what was really exciting about this was it was a new way to consume media. It was perfect for reading, browsing, and watching video. And TikTok was a song by Kesha. Now, 2010 was also the year I incidentally met my husband, and I also started a new job as an enterprise community manager. Now, this job title is still a mystery to my friends and family. But inspired by the success of Facebook and Twitter, and the new devices that were out in the market and new ways to share and consume content, companies like Pearson were wanting to replicate this kind of success in their organizations. So Enterprise Social is born. Now, I know some of you will say it wasn't born in 2010, it was born way before that, and that is true, but it really exploded in the sort of 2010, 2011 era. And here's what it promised: breaking down silos, driving engagement and connection, making knowledge sharing easier, driving faster innovation, democratization of employee voices, and improving productivity. Now, I think I heard some of that stuff in some of the presentations this morning. So the reality is, we've had some more fragmentation. I mean, I think it was in the J&J presentation where they talked about having more systems than people, right? That's kind of scary. We've all had adoption challenges. Now our employees are saying there is too much noise, and there's definitely content overload. And to be quite frank, the analytics still suck. So that's kind of where we are, but people are social by nature. And I promise enterprise social networks can deliver on those promises if they're done well. And so over the next kind of 20, 30 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about how we've launched not one, but 2 enterprise social networks that have been really thriving. Some of the mistakes I've made, some of the things we got right, and then I'm going to talk about some of the big bets for the future. So very briefly, who is Pearson? Well, we are the world's lifelong learning company, and we're a very purpose-driven organization because we help people realize the life they imagine through learning. And back in 2010, this is what we launched. This was Neo. So this was our enterprise social network. It was built on Jive. And actually, over a decade, we built a really vibrant, successful platform for our employees. But here's lesson number 1. You need governance. Now, we opted for a low governance model. We thought we were doing the right things. We were just excited when someone logged in and posted something. We had it all going on. We had the travel post, the cats of Pearson. We had word association. We did also have some really great work content. And I have to say that when we were doing all of the kind of fun stuff, what was really interesting for our employees was it was giving them a safe space to trial out and figure some of this like new technology out for individuals. But what happened is no governance resulted in 1.3 million, that is correct, pieces of content. Now, I'll cut myself a little bit of slack. It was a 10-year-old system, but nevertheless, there was a lot of content. The democratization of employee voice became noise. And when we had a change in leadership, we were really struggling to cut through all of that noise with our strategic messages, because some of the loudest voices on our platform were some of the employees who weren't necessarily aligned to our strategy. So we decided it was a time for a change. And it was the best decision we made, because what we did was we walked away from all that content. We literally lit a match and we let it burn. And then hope for the best. But we did do that because what we realized is that strong governance was a crucial foundation for not for control, get my teeth in, but to build trust and credibility. And actually, I'll let you into a secret. I think it was a handful of times that we had to go back and retrieve some content. We did put the whole platform onto a server. It's all gone now. But we didn't need it. And actually, it was really, really invigorating to be able to start again. And so now what we do is we review all of our content quarterly. So shout out to Dina Vicario in my team, because she is literally the governance queen. And what we do is we retire items, news items that are over 12 months old. So it gets past 12 months, it just gets reviewed. We don't ask people, because that was the mistake I made with that 1.3 million pieces of content. Please, can I retire your content? And then the answer would be no. And so now we don't ask. That is just the rule. And then on an annual basis, we do a bottom-up approach. So we look at all of our pages, and we look at the pages that have had no views, low views, and we set some criteria each year. And then we either delete the pages, or looking at the top of the chain, we optimize the pages that are getting the most views. So this brings me on to lesson number 2. We have a few well-trained content creators, and we've gone for quality over quantity, because I do not want to get into that 1.3 million pieces of content situation ever again. And so what we've done is created an editorial team supported by a content calendar, and we prioritize the quality content over quantity. And that's not just about the quality of the storytelling and the writing and the way that we're putting messaging together. That's also about accessibility. That's really, really important to us on our platform. Okay, so how does it work in reality? Well, everyone on our team covers a beat. So everyone has got an area that they're focused on, and they're out there sniffing out for the human stories, because they are responsible for helping join the dots and giving our employees a reason to believe in our purpose and strategy. And actually, what's really exciting is that the more we do that, we've become like sort of, journalists, and we're getting to know the organization much better. And we're actually getting, it was a hard work to start with because, I think we had a joke last week that we have a topic on the hub, and it's for global news content, and we used to have to take content out because when you looked in the carousel, it would be like this was posted 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. Now we have the opposite problem because literally we've got people fighting to be in the carousel because we've got so much great news, which is a problem in itself, and I will come back to that. But what we do is we meet every Monday and we look at what content we've got for the week and the weeks ahead, and we can quickly identify where we've got gaps, where we've got a serious collision of content, and we sort of act as like the air traffic control. So we're in a well-oiled machine, but it isn't without its challenges, because despite us having this process, we still have people come to us and say, I need an email. How many people does that happen to on the regular, right? And how effective really is email? Yeah, okay, I saw a thumbs down, so yeah. Because a lot of stakeholders, communicating is about ticking a box, right? They've got their process, and the last thing they want to do is communicate. Okay, I'm done. Well, lesson number 3. Communicating doesn't equal engagement. And so to maintain quality, we created a persona called Sarah. Now, if any of you have been at the Unite events before, you'll have heard me talk about Sarah. She likes coffee and sci-fi, and she's from Texas. But actually, she's a really important part of our sort of strategy and our journey, because what we've done with Sarah is we filter every message through her needs. Sarah has become our gatekeeper by asking, why does Sarah need to know this? Often we find the answer is, she doesn't. And so what we can do is push back, reduce the noise, but also guide our stakeholders into other, more effective communication channels. And so our editorial process is sound, and we are sticking to our plan, but I can be flexible. And so actually, my next lesson is really where we made a little bit of a mistake. So we decided to turn off social when we launched Unily. Now, if you look at the blurb for this session, it's like about chasing likes. So you're probably thinking, how is she talking about chasing likes if she turned off social? Well, let me be clear. In 2021, that was the right thing to do. We were in a bit of a pendulum swing, okay? We had 1.3 million pieces of content. We had all these employees that were shouting about all these different things that were not related to our strategy. And so we did really need to have a reset. But it started to feel like something was missing. But full disclosure, this social butterfly wasn't entirely convinced about turning it back on. Why? Because did I really want to open the floodgates to the cats of Pearson, the snippy messages on the CEO's blog posts? And quite frankly, since we'd turned it all off and we'd annoyed quite a lot of our employees, would they even want to come back and engage in a social way on our platform? And of course, there's the other problem, Teams. It's proliferated in our organization, and it has just become a little bit of a mess. Is Jane still here? Hopefully not, because I have my bits that I love about Microsoft and my bits that I don't love so much about Microsoft, and Teams is a problem, right? So I went and did a little bit of research. Now, you're not going to be able to read this because it's a super, super long post, but I am going to read some of this content out. And some of my concerns were really validated by Sharon O'Dea. Now, if you do not follow her, I think probably some of the people in the room who are in the UK will know Sharon, and she is wonderful. I highly recommend you go and follow her. She writes fantastic content, sometimes thought-provoking, sometimes quite provocative. But what she was sharing is social enterprise social, over? And what she noted, and I am going to read this bit, so apologies, as public social media turns toxic, people have shifted to sharing in small groups or not at all. So it's no surprise then that we're also seeing that shift reflected in how people communicate at work. So if you think about the beginning of my presentation, when I was talking about the fact that we were sort of trying to follow suit in the workplace to what was happening in social, we are literally now doing a reverse of that, right? We're seeing that social is a lot more toxic externally and in our consumer lives, and we're starting to sort of feel that in the workplace. And she continued, many people like us are taking the opportunity to dial down or switch off social in favor of high-quality editorial and task-focused content, shifting focus from communication noise to clarity, relevance, and authority. So I did sort of feel a little bit validated because we've got the governance and we've got the editorial, so am I absolutely mad to start thinking about turning social on? So I decided to dig into the comments, and they did not disappoint. Because what our peers were saying in the comments is engagement has fallen off a cliff, but employees are starting to feel like if they make a mistake in public, it can have a bigger impact. They feel that they're living in uncertain times, there's fear of layoffs, and their willingness to engage is definitely dropped. And the other thing is they're feeling completely overwhelmed with all these digital tools. So in terms of social, where am I supposed to post? Is it in the Teams chat? Is it in the individual chat? Is it in the meeting chat from the Teams meeting that I was just in? Or is it on the social platform, right? So there's a lot going on there. But it's not all doom and gloom. Because alongside the issues, there was common ground on the solution. So if you're going to do social, you need to do it in a way that has clarity of purpose, governance, and an investment in community management. And so there is still a problem to be solved for with community, but it still leaves me scratching my head a little bit because guess what? My team didn't just double in size. I don't suddenly have lots more people. And actually what I realized is I've got to put a lot more work into starting community from the ground up. I'm literally, again, starting from scratch. So that brings me on to lesson number 5. Always ask, what business problem are you trying to solve? Now, if any of you have been in the sessions this morning, I've heard this kind of phrase multiple times, and it has been my go-to question for the last 15 years. And the reason for that is because as soon as you ask this question, you're taking your technology, your platform, the social that you're kind of, waving the flag for, completely out of the conversation. And you are a leader trying to have a reasonable conversation about trying to solve a business challenge. And by being curious, you can have a meaningful conversation. And to be credible in our roles, we have to be able to understand the challenges of our organization and work with leaders to solve those problems. And so now I've talked a little bit about my sort of lessons learned, if you like. I'm going to talk a little bit about how Pearson is evolving our strategy so that we move from chasing likes to lasting impact, and a little bit about where I am placing my big bets. So, big bet number 1, know your data. Kaz is smiling because he knows I'm going to go on about data and how important it is to me. I'm obsessed with my data. And why? Because when you know your data, you can make better data-driven decisions. Now, spoiler, I'm absolutely terrible in Excel. In fact, I'm useless when it comes to doing, all sorts of different things in Excel. Thank God for AI, actually. It's really, really helping me out. But actually, what you get with Unily is some really, really great dashboards. And so that can really help you in terms of how you know your data. And then I'm going to sort of share with you a little bit about how we're using that. So at the beginning of the year, we set ourselves an OKR to improve engagement by 10 to 15%. Every decision we make is tested against this objective. And if we don't think it's going to move the needle, then we don't do it. Simple. Now, for the purpose of the OKR, we do have a simple equation. But, and I don't really like equations because we could have a debate all day long over a glass of wine about whether it's the right thing or not the right thing. But I do need a starting point. And the reason I need a starting point is because I have got a dashboard that I've got to send off to the leaders, and we do want to be able to track month on month, quarter on quarter, year on year, etc. But the reason that we track this is it's a starting point. And my team will tell you, I am obsessed with my data and I do know where we're tracking every single day. I checked it this morning. And why? Because what the numbers tell me is what's landing, what's resonating, what's working for our employees, which channels are driving content into our platform. And then when I know those things, I can make adjustments, right? I can stop doing the things that are dragging my time and having absolutely no impact whatsoever. And I can dial up the things that are really, really working. And so the other thing that's really important about being able to make data-driven decisions and having that information is I can start to overlay it on other data sources that I have within the organization. And this is the bit where I give Unily a bit of a hard time, because I would like to get more information from my data. So at the minute, I can see these dashboards. It's great. It's wonderful for the overview. It's great for my equation. But what I'm not able to do is take a download and pass that sort of filtered by business unit to my people analytics team. Because what my people analytics team are doing is measuring a number of different things. They're looking at things like retention. And so we think about the fact that I'm supposed to be giving our employees a reason to believe. If people are engaged with the hub, does that make a difference as to whether they leave or not? Just this morning, we sent our managers an email with their Gallup engagement survey results. Now, those engagement survey results are going to give us a map of all of our managers. What I'm not going to be able to do is overlay that with Unily at the moment. Because what I would like to know is, are highly engaged managers highly engaged with the content and the experiences that we're creating on the hub for them? So those are just a couple of examples, but I really want to be able to look at the patterns. So my big bets are there. And in terms of results, last year we were seeing a 770K average monthly views. This year we're averaging 880K. Now bear in mind, that's only on 9 months worth of data, and we did hit 1 million views in July. So those incremental changes that we've been making as part of that objective are starting to reap the rewards. And I would like to see that. I mean, next year my team will probably kill me because I would love to put that, like, double it. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. They're probably putting something in the chat now saying, no, 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 no. Okay, big bet number 2. Community still matters. Well, this makes my heart sing, right? Because I am a community manager at heart. It's community that brought me to the enterprise social network and into this space. And it's community that has kept me here. But what we're doing with community now is we're saying, do you know what? It does absolutely have to have a purpose. And so we do that by having a charter. We have a committed community manager. You have to have a 3-month content plan before we will even let your community go live. And you are committed to having a regular NPS review. And what does that mean? Well, it means that if we have communities that are not performing, we can cut them loose. And we know that all of our community managers are signing up to this. And actually what it means is we're putting value into the experience for our colleagues. And where we're focusing with communities and in a couple of different areas. So number 1, marketing and communications. Now, this is my baby, because this is the community that I am the community manager for, that I've had to do the charter for, and I've also had to do the content plan. And let me tell you, it is hard work, right? You have to put effort in. But what's really important is it's better to put the effort in and have a successful community than put a little bit of effort in and then be ending up with a bunch of communities that are just kind of like waste grounds, because that doesn't create or drive value or engagement. So the marketing and communications community is because we've just brought our whole marketing and communications function together. And whilst moving reporting lines would be amazing if that just brought you all together as, you know, one culture, the reality is we need to build that community and that culture within this new sort of organization. And so that's the purpose of this community. Oh, and I forgot that this one was a magic one. So there you go. There is more content than just the top of that page. There we go. Excellent. Right. And Casey did put click for screen to scroll animation, so just so you know, that was on me. Okay, another community that we've got is at the heart of our London HQ. We have just opened a bold new space, which is really about sort of helping our colleagues, our customers, our partners really innovate in terms of what the classroom can look like in the future. So if you imagine it's got this massive screen that's with one of our partners called View. We've got loads of wearables. I love going in there and trying on the Ray-Bans. It's really, really cool. But as I said, we are a 17,000 employee organization in 64 countries. And so what the Pearson Lab community is all about is bringing that innovation and that excitement and that reason to believe in our future and where we're going as an organization to our people outside of London HQ. And so one of the things that we're doing here is we are giving people the opportunity to attend webinars. We've got Dina Vicario in my team is like a roving reporter, and she brings some of the socials to life. So that's one, number two. And then number three is professional communities. And this is one of the things I get really excited about, because the professional communities is where I think, as a learning company, is the heart of what we can actually do to really help Pearson grow and thrive. Because if we can upskill and reskill our employees, it's going to give us a better opportunity to grow as an organization. And so professional communities, this is just an example of like how we're bringing crowdsourcing together to bring external resources in a particular community. This one is our operational excellence community. Okay, big bet number 3, colleagues expect personalization. Well, why? Because their time is precious. And they don't have time to wade through emails and notifications and the pages on your platform. They want tailored, relevant, just-in-time content. And I think we heard that this morning from a number of different people in terms of that personalization. So I'm not going to hammer the point home. But what I am going to do is talk to you about what we're doing for our managers. So managers account for 70% of the variance in team engagement. And so what we've decided to do is create a personalized experience for our managers. What does that look like? Well, first and foremost, well, hey, this one clicks. First and foremost, we have the Manager Hub. So this is a page where they can start. It points them off to all their various different resources. But what we've also got is resource pages specific to different global initiatives that are only visible for managers. So they're able to go and have a look at that content. I think I might stop that, because I thought you might end up getting a little bit seasick. But the manager resources are specifically available to them, and they're really very brief, but really, really clear in terms of what a manager needs to know about this specific initiative within the organization. We also have our team brief. Now, this has been a labor of love for me, because we've had many, many goes at trying to get this right. And actually, this is where we've landed. So the team brief is one page on the hub. It's got 3 sections for October, and then we'll have like what happened in September and what happened in August. And then as we get to November, we knock August off and we move forward. And it's literally a checklist. Why? Because when you're a manager and you're short of time, do you know what? Did I tell my employees about this? Did I go and find out what I need to know about this? We're really just trying to make it a little bit easier for our employees. And then what we do is we wrap all of that up with broadcast communications and a pop-up. Now, if you have not used pop-ups and you don't know what I'm talking about, go and ask somebody in one of the demo booths about pop-ups, because I think they're brilliant. Because what they can do is they bring you just-in-time communication, either on all of your pages on the hub, or you can pick specific pages. You can do audience segmentation. They're absolutely fantastic. But what we do with managers is when we've got just-in-time communication, we are able to push it out to them. And what we do with the team brief is once it's updated on the 1st of the month, we do a broadcast communication to let them know that it's been updated. And what we're seeing is in our Q1 campaign, we had a 79% reach, and in our Q2 campaign, we had an 80% reach. So it's definitely working, and we are really finding that we're getting better engagement with our managers, and they're more informed and are able to do their jobs. Okay, big bet number 4. The experience must be seamless. I swear I heard that this morning. I think I've heard it multiple times this morning. So I told you I was a little bit on the money in terms of where my big bets are. And no surprise, I'm going to talk about the Copilot and Unily partnership that we've got with Microsoft. This really is a game changer. I mean, listening to the presentation this morning, I'm super excited about where AI is going, but this is something for us that's really a reality, because it was a business problem we needed to solve for. We have ServiceNow, we have SharePoint, we have the Hub, we have Confluence, we have probably another, I think, 110 other systems. And having a universal search is so, so important, because what you don't want for employees is that they have to figure out which system they have to be in order to be able to search for content. And what we've been able to do with Unity in the past is we've brought ServiceNow content into the hub, but we haven't been surfacing the hub content elsewhere. So this is an absolute game changer for us, and I'm super, super excited about where we can do more of these seamless integrations. Okay, where are we at? I've done a pretty good amount of time before I really started to talk about AI. But Big Bet 5, it's not really a surprise, is it? AI is here to stay. But the reason I do want to talk about AI is because I think every single one of us in this room is probably sitting there thinking, especially after listening to Jane, I need to do a little bit more. But I haven't got time. Where do I start? So here's a couple of tips from me. First and foremost, LinkedIn is absolutely amazing. I've got a couple of names. I'm going to put a post up on LinkedIn after this session with some of my favorite people that I follow on LinkedIn who are sharing some amazing things. Eric S. is one of my favorite people because not only does he post really great content, but he literally puts in like bold in his posts. Copy this, share this, adapt this. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. Like, you've created these wonderful prompts that I can go and use. I don't use them all verbatim, but I can certainly dig in and make some adjustments. There's a couple of other people, and I will share those. But we're all on a bit of a learning curve with AI, right? I sort of, kind of was early to AI, and I dipped in, dipped out. It's only really in the last 6 months I'm like, oh my God, I really have to get my skates on and learn AI. And then I sort of started to freak out a little bit because I was like, everybody's doing AI and they're doing it better than me. And like, I should be creating an agent, and I should be creating an agent for this, and I should be creating an agent for that. And actually what I did was calm down. And actually what I started to do was follow some of these different people. But the most important thing I started to do was experiment. And so in experimenting, one of the first things that we did for our employees was we created a Gen AI page for them. And so we thought we had done a really great job with this page. I was very proud of it because we'd got, the generative AI legal guidelines, and we'd put some information about the tools that we've got. But actually, what we were sort of doing for our employees, not really listening to some of the lessons that I've shared with you already, is we were kind of just throwing everything at them. And hoping for the best, hoping they'd figure it out. No, I'm joking. We didn't really do it that badly. But what we are doing is thinking about how we can evolve it. Because what we want to do for our employees is meet them where they are. We want to be able to create personas. And I think it's just cut that off a little bit, and this one doesn't move. But we've created some personas, and we're actually going to help our employees where they are. So if you're a beginner, we're going to help you learn AI from the start. Going back to where I was talking with launching enterprise social networks, one of the things that I was doing was I was helping people. We had the cats of Pearson and the word association because we wanted to give people a safe space to experiment and to play. Because once they'd experimented and played and felt confident, they then started to be able to use our enterprise social network for work-related activities. So we're going to evolve this, and I think it's really, really important that we share what we're all doing on this topic, because it's only going to move faster, it's only going to get kind of probably a little bit scarier, and there's also going to be challenges, right? There's going to be things that come along that are going to scare us, there are going to be things that are going to get in the way, and things that we're going to have to resolve together. So, in conclusion, back in 2010, when I started in this space, I really believed enterprise social could transform how we work. And today in 2025, I still believe that. But our employees don't owe us their attention. We have to earn it. And so one of the things that I would like to leave you with today is something that you can maybe consider taking back to the office when you go back this week or next week if you're traveling back from the UK. So 3 things. Please, for the love of God, audit your platform. Now, I was brave, and I literally lit fire to 1.3 million pieces of content. So let me tell you, you could go and unpublish some of your content on Monday. Trust me. And guess what? If someone's desperate for it, you could republish it. But seriously, everything on your platform that could be unpublished, get it out of the way, because it makes your search better, it makes the experience for your employees better, and really, really, your employees and your colleagues will thank you for it. Pilot using a pop-up. I think they're amazing. Go and see the demo team. They really are the wonderful way for doing just-in-time content. And if you haven't used them all already, go figure out how they work. And finally, embrace AI. If you haven't got a plan on how your team can support your business in the very real problem that we're all facing in terms of what AI means for our organizations, then build one. Because that's the opportunity that we all have with these platforms to really drive value. But first, take some time for yourself to experiment and play. Because you might be surprised what you can actually do, discover, and find out about AI for yourself. Right, Kaz, I am done. Thank you. I need to drink.
Nice. Yes. Thank you so much. I've already got some questions and some have been filtering in, so remember to ask your questions as well. Take a sip of water first. So, okay, so let's start with, let's actually start with driving content to the platform. Actually, let me come back to that. So when it comes to managers, you've put a lot of effort into that manager community. We spoke about how the importance of the manager team engagement and communicating the results to managers. How's that journey going, and what else have you done to kind of bring managers that maybe aren't at that level to a higher level?
Yeah, so I mean, look, managers have got a really tough job, right? They are the squeeze, right? So they've got their teams that they need to manage. They've got to manage their own manager in a lot of cases. And so I think we owe it to managers to really try and make life a little bit easier. And so we've experimented. We have had various different iterations. We used to do like a monthly newsletter. Then we put it to like every 2 weeks. And then we were like, God, that 2 weeks comes around really quickly. And, there's lots of different things that may or may not work. And I think for us, it was the checklist that really sort of started to change
the team
things.
charter.
Yeah, because what the checklist does is it's literally sectioned out into like action required, need to know, and key dates, right? So what we're trying to do is give people a little bit of, upfront, information in terms of what's coming down the pike so they can start planning. And then on top of that, what's the actions that I need to like literally do? And then what are some of the things that are kind of more in that like, it's nice to know, need to know kind of category. And I would say we haven't got it right perfectly. Like, I'm not sitting on this platform saying, oh, everything we're doing is great. It really isn't. There's still so much room for improvement. One of the things that we're really trying to help our employees with managers with right now is there's just an avalanche of content for them, right? So, I mean, who in this organization isn't going through like major change and disruption with one thing or another? Like, we all are in that same camp. Yeah. Then we try and translate that into, okay, well, we need the manager to do this. It's like this, just for Pearson right now, we've just had the engagement survey, it's code of ethics. We've got cybersecurity month, it's World Mental Health Day on Friday. Like, we can all take a break and think about that for a moment. Like, it's relentless. And so what we're trying to do is just stop some of the noise, give them a checklist, but then also do that air traffic control to say to some of the stakeholders, like, do you really need to communicate that right now? Or to use the Sarah persona, does everybody need to know that? Probably not. Then there's a different methodology. So it's trial and error, and as I say, we have not got it right completely. I mean, because you've known our journey, like we've been going on it, but we're getting there, I would say.
And so you've spoken a bit about the rebounding of like, so we had like everyone could contribute everything, and then no one could contribute anything, and now we're kind of like easing back into that, using some of those communities. One of the questions we've got is about user-generated content. What's your view on user-generated content, and how are you using it at Pearson, if at all?
Yeah, so we have got user-generated content. Here's the thing that's really tricky, right? I listened to some of the presentations from other people, and they've got, and this is going not just today, this is sort of other Unites, and I think to myself, right, they've got loads of content creators. I'm like, that's great, that's what Pearson needs to do, right? So we need to create some more content, because we've gone from like the one extreme to the other. But the second we've done that, we start to add more content creators, the quality of our content goes a little bit lower. And no disrespect to my colleagues, but one example where it's really, really important is accessibility. So we've been really strict about accessibility. We're really strict on like the headers. Maren Beckman in my team, who is listening, is so relentlessly purposeful with how we approach accessibility. Because when we launched Unily, we made that commitment to our colleagues. It was the right thing to do. It's sometimes been quite challenging, right? Because we have to make some decisions that people are like, well, but we would love this because it's really pretty. Yeah, but it's not accessible. But actually the challenge with that is that then you don't have accessible content. So I've given my content creators sort of the run of the show, and that's great, but then we're kind of having to go in and check. So it's that balance, I think, between like governance and quality, but then also like the user-generated content. And I don't even just mean like literally anybody can post. I mean even just adding content creators. So I don't think we've quite got that sweet spot yet. And I'm like, add more content creators. Is it easy for them to create content, etc.? So in terms of the user-generated content, what we have got is social got switched on in April when we rebranded our platform. That was really exciting for me because we turned it on, and then it was like silence. It's like, okay, it's just me commenting on everything. It actually really felt like 2010. But actually, I'm a bit like a small business owner. Every time someone comments something now, I'm like, yay, this is so exciting. It's like someone bought from my shop. But actually, do you know what? The employees don't owe me anything. We turn social off for them. So I have to rebuild that trust. We talked this morning about trust and about a people-first strategy. So I have to build that trust back up with our employees. We have to create that safe space. There is plenty of opportunity for our employees to generate their own content. It's just a little bit more focused into learning communities, professional communities, and things that are really important for us.
Not pets at Pearson.
There is no pets at Pearson. Although, there's been a few people that I've been talking to
back.
internally who are like, well, do you know the thing is, you want to start a social post, you put some pets in there, and people go mad. I mean, I can guarantee you, if I put a post up tomorrow saying cats or dogs, people would be all over it. So, we might see it at Pets at Pearson. I don't know.
Who knows? Watch this space. You mentioned a little bit about email and maybe like email being a bit like not so good. But there still is in enterprise organizations this kind of over-reliance on email. How do you go about driving behaviors back to the platform so you still got some of the analytics that you love rather than over-relying on email?
Look at your data, right? So we send out emails via Campaign Monitor. And the open rates on certain communications will be amazing. You're going to get a bonus. Yep, everyone's going to open that communication. But, when you're telling people about something that's less interesting, the open rates just aren't that high. So we actually do a combination of two things. One is it's hub first. So if it's an important communication, if it's the, engagement survey results is a good example, it goes on the hub. And then when there's certain communications, what we try to do is not send out an individual communication, we do a hub digest. And so on a Thursday, we send the hub digest out. It's a roundup of all the content that is on the hub. So yes, we need the email, because if we don't tell people there's content, then how do they know it's there? But what we don't want is an email every day. Do you want an email every day? Or multiple emails every day? And the data just shows that people aren't necessarily opening the email anyway. So I think what you have to do is look for balance.
Yeah.
And email has its place. I just don't want it all the time.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much. Please give another round of applause for Kim.
Thank you.
No.
You want me to go that way?
Yeah, feel free. Either way. So we have a 15-minute break now. Reminder of the social competition. I've seen people snapping some great pics. So please do share those pics and what your insights are related to them. After that break, I believe we have roundtables in the Ryman room and the other stages, which is the opposite side of this. So you have a break. Look at the topics in the app. We also have some, whether you're a platform owner, whether you're a communicator, whether you're a HR professional, there's a wide range of topics. So see you in those rooms. See you in a bit.
It's such a pity.